Hey guys, welcome back to the Far Better Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Clark. This is Season 10, Episode 11, 205 overall. We're back with Bradley Smith. We're talking today about the mark of the beast. Bradley, as I've done all season, I'm going to define it, and then we'll defeat it with the scriptures together. The mark of the beast is one of the most sensationalized and misunderstood topics in eschatology. Premillennialists often will teach that the mark of the beast is a major future deception orchestrated by Satan to control the world. There's two common views that exist here. It will be imposed right before Christ returns. It will be instituted after the rapture during the 7-year tribulation. It is often tied to the rise of the Antichrist, who will enforce the mark globally, punish those who refuse it, create a one-world government or religion. The mark, therefore, would frequently be interpreted as a technological implant or device that will track buying and selling, control people's minds, force loyalty to a global ruler or system. It's believed to be physical, applied to the forehead or hand based on Revelation 13, 16 through 18. From microchips, vaccine fears, credit cards, to barcodes. Speculative interpretations abound, but few are grounded in careful biblical exegesis. Bradley, let's defeat this together. Give me your initial thoughts on the mark of the beast.
Well, as we discussed last week with the 144,000, it's important to remember the context of the book of Revelation. It's written to first century Christians living in Asia Minor, facing persecution at the hands of the Roman government. What would it have meant to them? I think it's a good exercise to look at some of the things that people have attributed to being the mark of the beast and think about what it would have meant for them. Some have said that tattoos are the mark of the beast. And, certainly there's biblical discussion to be had about, tattoos and things like that. But what does that mean? What would that mean to them in the context? Certain vaccines that have been especially developed in the last few years. Think especially about the COVID vaccine. And again, think what you want to about that, but what good would it have done to first century Christians living in Asia Minor facing persecution at the hands of the Roman government to hear, hey, in 2,000 years there's going to be this thing called COVID-19, and they're going to make a vaccine, and by the way, don't take it. That's the mark of the beast.
Right.
Or, barcodes. A lot of people looked at barcodes on things in grocery stores. By the way, in 2,000 years, there will be these things called grocery stores, and they'll don't buy anything because that's the mark of the beast.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense biblically. Biblically, whenever we're looking at the mark of the beast, we need to look at who the beast is. And in Revelation chapter 13, looking at it biblically and keeping it in its context, the beast is Rome. Now today, the mark of the beast, and could one potentially today be in danger of the mark of the beast? Well, if you decide to worship the Roman Empire, you certainly are in danger of the mark of the beast. But just like so many other things that we've discussed, these are biblical topics. The Bible does talk about the mark of the beast, just like it talks about 144,000, just like it talks about new heavens, new earth, whatever the case might be. But people have taken it and sensationalized it to such a point that it no longer even closely resembles anything like what the Bible teaches.
That's right. Hollywood's fun. It's not unenjoyable, but it's also not always accurate.
That's right.
Sometimes we'll study something and we'll see it and it'll sound really cool. And I think that's what a lot of these end up being like. What if this was happening? And the idea of the QR codes and the barcode scanners and all of that. You see some things where that's actually taken and sensationalized to quote unquote reality, Hollywood reality, but reality. It's representing a conformity to idolatry and a state-sponsored religion in contrast to those loyal to Christ. It's not talking about anything more than that. The defeating points here is the mark being a behavior and spiritual stamp, not a physical object.
Exactly.
It's a brand of allegiance, not a literal tattoo. It's marked those whose conduct and character reflected the beast, the world empire, false religions, not those who had chips in their hands or credit cards in their wallets. Again, speaking as we're talking about, what good does it do those individuals being persecuted by Rome to hear, don't get a credit card?
Exactly.
That's a problem.
Well, we'd first have to explain banks to them.
Yes, exactly. Some in Revelation use the beast mark to show false deity, claiming divine status for rulers, as Rome did with Caesar. Galatians 2:9 talks about the idea of the fellowship with evil. Though the passage refers to the right hand of fellowship, it can be elusively applied to the idea of aligning oneself with an evil power. Giving the right hand of fellowship to the beast, therefore, figuratively represents participation in false systems, compromise for worldly benefit, and in contrast, God's people give fellowship to truth, not tyranny or idolatry. Anything else, Bradley, you want to add on the mark of the beast?
Again, we just can't emphasize enough. Whenever we're talking about biblical matters, we need to stick to how the Bible defines them. And you talk about things being kind of Hollywoodized.
Yeah.
That's a new word. Put it.
Sure.
That'll be in the dictionary. But, we both like sports.
Yeah.
And sports movies sometimes are sensationalized. They'll make things look a certain way. For instance, the movie Rudy. There are a lot of people who have looked at that and said, that's not how it happened at all.
That's exactly what went down.
They said that, well, that's not what happened at all.
Yeah.
But it makes for a really cool story, a really fun story. A lot of people who have bought into these premillennial ideas will hype it up. They'll sensationalize it because, hey, it sounds really cool. Cool might not be the right word, but
sure.
it sounds almost too good to be true.
Exactly.
We see it with overextending other things, other biblical prophecies, or trying to assign too many deeper meanings, even in non-prophetic passages. They'll say, "Oh, well, this means that." No, probably not.
Right.
That's a little too far. But we need to be careful not to apply the text further than the context allows for.
Absolutely. Bradley, thanks for being with us. I know you'll be back next week. We're looking forward to that. For us, it's going to be very soon. For you at home, it's going to be a little bit longer, and that's okay. Next week is just around the corner. We've been studying premillennialism, or as we've called this, far better by knowing better about the end times. And we're going to continue our conversation next week on the Battle of Armageddon. This is a work of the Memphis School of Preaching. We're grateful to them, grateful to all of our supporters, grateful to you, our viewers, our listeners. We hope and pray that as you make your journey through the next week, you'll be pleasing to God in this life so that our eternity can be far better.